Are you signed up for IRONMAN Vitoria-Gasteiz this season? If so, this is the video for you because in it I'm going to go through some key swim, bike, run tips all about the course that will help you have a super race day. But who am I? My name is Stephen Moody. I'm an Ironman U certified coach and I've coached hundreds of people to the start and finish line of Vitoria-Gasteiz. So what I have done is I've gathered all their experience and their key tips in this video that I will share with you and really help you be as prepared as possible for a super race in Spain. So let's get to it. As I said, we're going to cover some swim course tips, some bike, run, and some other key things to know about nutrition and logistics, etc. And we'll cover that at the end of the video. First off, we're going to go through the route because knowing your Ironman course is absolutely vital, making sure you're prepared for the day. I'll talk about the route specifics and also some key training advice I'll give you in the next few weeks on the lead up to your big day. This is your race start. This is where it'll all happen. For you, as you can see, thousands of athletes all lined up. And this is the pros going into the beautiful lake waters. And this is how your day will start. And again, this is the lake swim. I'll talk about this. This is quite an unusual part of the swim course, but I'll go through this in some detail now. But as you see, pancake flat, beautiful. So key things to note about the swim. It is the water temperature is going to be extremely likely. It's going to be a wetsuit swim, which is great for a lot of nervous newbies. The course itself, for those new to Ironman, it's something that you need to know about how you start and what corral you will line up in. Ironman is based on a rolling swim start, which means you have to get into a corral or sort of zone that is based on your estimated swim time. So it's vital that you put yourself in the right swim corral because they will let in swimmers in batches of swimmers, and I'll talk about how that works. And it's also key to know there is zero benefit of putting yourself in the wrong corral, thinking to yourself, I'll put myself at the front of the race and I'll go up with the really fast swimmers. You're not going to, if you're a weak swimmer, you will not get any draft. And then also you will also get swum over by stronger swimmers. It can happen. Seeding yourself correctly is a vital good starting point in your race. But what does that look like? When you arrive on race day, on race morning, you will see these yellow signs around of this swim course. So if you think you're going to swim under 90 minutes, but not faster than 80 minutes, this is where you put yourself in. It means you'll be swimmers of similar ability, and also you'll get good draft, and also you won't get in the way of other stronger swimmers. And it's key to note that your time for cutoffs, which I'll discuss in each section, only starts when you cross the start mat of the swim. So don't worry about oh, if I get in, it's going to take them 20 minutes to get all the swimmers in. I need those 20 minutes. You don't. It's based on chip time. So when you cross the swim mat just before the lake, that's how it starts. So the key thing to note as well, putting yourself in the swim corral, this is how you will enter the water. As you can see, the volunteers here have their arms out, and every, I think 10 seconds, a beep will go, and these guys will lift up their arm, and 5 swimmers will enter the water. They'll put down their arms, and then wait for that beep again. So that's how we control the swim start. So it's not a mass lemmings type bail into the water and everyone's swimming on top of each other. It's much more controlled. That's why it's key you get into the right swim corral. The course itself, it's a very straightforward course. It's like a horseshoe shape. The one thing to note is when you're swimming up this, it's almost like a mile swim, so it can feel very long, and you're sort of you just see the boys stretched out, and it feels like it takes forever to make that turn, which is quite an unusual aspect of the swim course. But just bear that in mind, and then you have a quick turn, cross, and then back in. So what I'm going to discuss is sighting points now, as in what you should aim for to make sure you swim in a straight line. Because it's a horseshoe shape, it's quite a simple course to navigate. And when we talk about sighting, we talk about every kind of 9 to 12 strokes when you lift your head up to make sure that you're going in a straight line, and you'll fix on a set landmark because it's in a lake, it's not too good. I always advise that making sure that you're swimming towards the next buoy, okay? As long as every time you lift your head up, you're heading in that same direction, that's the way to do it. And that's why I talk about sighting. If you start swimming off this direction, you're adding an awful lot of swimming to your day, which you don't need. So in terms of sighting points, I would say, look, the big red turning buoy at the end, and just keep an eye on the yellow buoys, as you saw from the previous picture, make sure they're on your left. Then again, swim across, you'll aim toward, there's be an item here, just make sure you're swimming straight, and then head down for this islet here, this islet, piece of land jutting into a lake, I believe. And then the final sighting point will be that beautiful black arch that means you're going to exit the water. Key here as well, and some advice when you're swimming in the water, you do need to draft as much as possible. Drafting in swimming is completely legal. It's illegal in the bike, but when you talk about drafting, you swim as close as possible to the swimmer in front of you. Another quick tip for this course is when you're coming in, probably from when you make this final turn in, kick your legs a little bit more than you had before, because this will give you the effect of getting more blood flow to your legs, so you won't have that moment when you jump up and all the blood goes from your head down to your feet and you get a bit dizzy or called jelly legs. So you have got 2 hours and 20 minutes to get through the water. The water is cold, so there will be wetsuit legal. It's beautiful and clean lake, and that would be a great race. But 2 hours 20 is your cutoff time. But again, that's based on your chip time when you enter the water. Some training prep, do practice lake swimming. As I said, it's likely going to be a it's 90% going to be a wetsuit swim because it's in a lake, but I also get guys to just practice doing a bit of swimming in the open water outside of the wetsuit, just for that small percentage, and make sure you're a little bit more confident. Okay, so you've had a super swim, you're absolutely you're well under your target time, you're feeling great. What's next? Next up is our transition, and this is where Vitoria-Gasteiz is interesting because it has a split transition. Split transition means your T1, or where you get from the swim to the bike, and versus T2, where you go from your bike to the run, are in 2 different locations. Makes it a little bit more logistically complex in the days before the race, in terms you have to get your bike and your bag to that the T1 area, and at the end where you have to have your run bag in the T2 location. Doesn't that's the kind of a consideration there. The wrap up at the end is grand, because what Ironman will do will bring your red bag, your blue bag, and all that good stuff back to the finish line, which we'll talk about red and blue bags now. So this is your swim exit. You run up here, it's carpeted. It's a short enough run out of the water, probably 200 meters. It's flat, it's nothing really, it's not up a hill or anything. You have a changing tent here, which you will get into where you will collect your blue bag. Your blue bag in Ironman transition specific element is where you have your bike gear and you'll put your wetsuit into it. I talk a little bit about that in another video below, because Ironman has its specific rules for transition. It's not like your local tri where you turn up and you rock up and you put everything beside your bike. You have a bag system where you have to have your bike stuff in a blue bag, your run stuff in a red bag, and you have to put it in specific places on the course. I cover that in the video in the tab below. You will go through the changing tent. Nudity is not allowed, and there will be places to change there. And then you will head out towards the main area where your bikes are racked. As you can see, the bikes are racked in a field, so it's quite unusual for an Ironman race. Normally you're on a kind of a car park or tarmac or concrete, so a little bit of grass. So just be wary where you're putting your toes, etc. And then we bike out, and then you'll mount the line here. It is a short run up, but that's carpeted, so it's nothing to worry about. Here is when you're running in the non-carpeted area. It's making sure you don't stand on anything. Questionable whether you'd actually make the call of actually running with your shoes on rather than running barefoot here. I would, in this scenario, you don't know what's in the grass. You don't want to stand on anything. I will personally have my bike shoes in my blue bag and put that on, and you have a little bit of clip-clopping up here, but it means your toes are protected. As I said, Ironman has specific transition rules, so just familiarize yourself with this by watching my very cool and short video that explains how the bag system works and what you need to put in it. Link in the comments below. Okay, so we're transitioning ourselves, and by the way, I hope you're enjoying the video. If you are, Slight ask. I hope I've earned your subscription. Just hit that subscribe button because I do this course review to make sure guys are prepared. I also do triathlon training tips and other kind of equipment recommendations. So it's great triathlon content. And who knows, next Ironman you do after this one, you might need a course review, and I've got you covered. That's all I'm asking for, guys. Really appreciate any support. Okay, we have done our swim, we're transitioned, we're on our bike, and we're wondering what the course is like for Vitoria-Gasteiz. Good news, it's actually a really nice course. It's unusual in the sense it's 2.5 loops. So there's 2 by 74K loops and 1 by 34K loops. So you can see that in the course here. We will be starting from our lake, and we'll cover this loop once, twice, and on the third time we cut across and come back into T2. So what other information do you need? The road surfaces are perfect. They're really nice. So that will add to your average speed. So just bear that in mind. There is a decent amount of climbing, around 1,000 meters worth of climbing, but it's more rolling than big efforts. And I had a look at the data there from my guys' files. The peak climb was 6%. That was only for a few hundred meters. The most you're going to suffer is 10 kilometers overall. Of the entire 180 kilometers, there's only 10 kilometers that's around 3 to 6%. So that's not an awful lot. Good news is, was it 100 kilometers flat, and the rest is sort of more or less, and there's bits of downhill. But also the key thing here is that because it's rolling, it doesn't zap your legs as much. You can stay in the big ring and you're sort of going up and down, so you might lose a little bit on the downhill, but if you time it, you can actually almost like keep your average speed quite high if you do it well. Some other things to note as well, and when you're going through these little villages, there are speed ramps, or as one of my English athletes called a sleeping policeman. I've never heard that before. So just be aware of them when you're going to these areas. There are villages with speed ramps. So if you hit them too hard, you might lose your bottle. So make sure your bike computer is secured and your bike and your rear bottle cage are covered. The descents themselves are not technical, so there's no mad turns. You can see it's quite a aside from these corners here, which you can ease into, there's no real sharp turns or any sort of like the technical descents, so you can build up speed. Come back to you're almost surfing through the course. Here is the elevation map based on kind of the average gradient. As you can see, it's all under kind of like sixes. The way this profile map is that it makes it look a little bit more dramatic than it is, but that's essentially what it is. Rolling, as I said, your peak climb is 6%. There's mainly sort of 3%, etc. It won't, again, if you work your gears well and you keep a cadence up, you can actually get a solid bike split on this, and more importantly, without zapping your legs for the run. The bike cutoff time, including your swim time, is you've got 9 hours and 10 minutes to sort all this out. What would I recommend in terms of training tips for this? As you're training in the build-up, if it's your first one, make sure you cover 180 kilometers in and overall. Ideally a couple of sessions, but at worst case scenario, just even one. That will make sure you've got the necessary endurance, and also throw in some race pace efforts about like how you're going to hit your heart rate zone, how you're going to hit your power numbers. And so make sure you're doing that. And again, you're nailing down your nutrition in that. You're actually, in terms of making you bulletproof for this course, actually, if you put in some real sort of little steep hills in your long bikes and all the rest, that will actually make it, which will be harder for what you actually feel in the day. So you'll actually have a bit of confidence and you'll build up strength in your legs. Nail down nutrition. On those long bikes, you need to be practicing your nutrition strategy, what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat, how you're going to eat it. And I say how you're going to transfer it off the bike onto your gob, how you're going to use your aid stations. A lot of information on that. I actually have a video in the comments below that goes through how to build out your nutrition strategy. Make sure you check it out. It goes through in step-by-step detail. It'd be too much to go into this course review video. But it's actually a really nice bike course. As I said, it says it's rolly, but it's actually a more, it undersells itself in terms of it can actually lend itself to a good solid bike split. Okay, so what are the aid station situation? We talked about nutrition. Here, the aid stations at 4, 24, 52, la 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 la. There's plenty of these aid stations. And what I recommend here, pro tip, print this off and tape it onto your stem so you'll actually know exactly when they're coming, rather than on race day when you're race brain and you go, oh, when's my next aid station? This will go, okay, I'm fine. I know I'll have emptied my water bottle by whatever, midway. I'm going to pick up another one at 96 kilometers. I'm good. And even if I miss that, I'm only another 30K till my next aid station. How do the aid stations work? Some key things here, especially for newbies: do not get disqualified for something stupid and rude as littering. We are a guest in these people's country. We respect it. And Ironman will come down hard on you if you're seeing corporate and marshals chucking your water bottle in the countryside, dropping gel wrappers. So how they manage this is they have trash zones at the start of each aid station, the plentiful aid stations, where you can go, okay, right, that bottle's empty. That's no use to me anymore. You get ready and you chuck that into the trash zone. It's a big kind of area that people are actively tidying up. So that's where you dump your rubbish. And then you'll go and you can either pick up water. And by the way, the liquid on the course is Precision Hydration. They have changed from Gatorade Endurance. There's big hullabaloo on that, but it's confirmed for European races. It's Precision Hydration. There's Morton gels, fruits, etc., and water. They tend to mirror it. And sort of aid station etiquette: when you're coming into an aid station, remember, there's lots of cyclists on this course. There'll be 2,000 plus. So remember, you've got to communicate well to your other cyclists and the volunteers you're trying to grab food from. So what I do is, when I'm coming into the aid station, I know it's coming up. I'll drain my bottle, make sure it's empty. So therefore, I'll chuck it into the trash station. If I need water, I will shout out loud, coming into an aid station, and then the guys behind me at least know. So it's not a surprise that I'm not going to slam on the brakes and stop. And you don't stop at aid station. You try to gently roll through them. I will make eye contact with a volunteer, point, water, and they'll sort of go, yeah. And then and I'm keeping eye contact. No, I'm feathering my brakes. I'm reaching out my arm slowly. And then I will grab the water bottle and then put it into my bottle cage. And the water bottles are 750 ml, so they'll fit into a standard water bottle cage. And then I said, I'm coming out again. So because others lads who are still flying along, it's not a big surprise. If again, I will do that for the water. If I want some fruits or some other food, energy bars, I will again keep an eye talking to the volunteer. And by the way, say thank you. These guys are giving up their time for no money from Ironman, and they make our race experience cool. So communicate, indicate, eye contact, slow down, and just be also situation aware. Because what will happen, what you think about if people are dropping bottles, and in this aid station, in this kind of zone, they can drop rubbish. There can be things in the flow. So whilst you're slowing down, making sure that you're not going to there's any bottles that your bike wheel can go over and take out your race. Always be situation aware. They're vital parts of your course, vital parts of your course nutrition, but they're also precarious. So just take your time. Now, as I said, this is what we'll have: Precision Hydration. We'll have Morton bars. They typically have fruit as well, and energy bars that you can just pick up, and they'll have them. The bananas we cut in two, so you can squeeze into your mouth. If they have energy bars, they're kind of cut in two as well, and you can just get them into your mouth as well. That's our aid station. So we're back to our second part of our transition area. As I said, it is a split transition, so this is a different part of the course that you'll come to. So you'll be coming in here, and again, this is where you look at the mountain line and you start, slowing yourself down. At this stage, I also, take any last bits of water into myself. There's a dismount line and there's bike catchers, okay, which is unusual for a European race. A bike catcher is someone who will when you're running, they will take your bike and they will bring it over here to this bike placement zone and they'll rack it for you. Whereas in other European races, you have to go back, remember where your bike was racked, and make sure you rack it yourself. This is where you feel like, wow, I'm a pro. I have arrived. So some nice Spaniard, a volunteer will take your bike and they'll put it there, which you pick up afterwards safely. You'll run down through this area. It will be in barefoot, or you can stay in your bike shoes, depending on what your call is. I will probably stay in my bike shoes because it protects your shoes against anything that might be on the floor or stubbing your toe. You will come into this area here. This is your changing tent where you pick up your red bag. So the red bag is your bike to run, as in you put your helmet in, you put your shades in, you put you put your bike shoes in, you put your runners on, you have to your shades on, and then you'll head out into your marathon. Um, some items to note here is that there is a steep ramp, um, just the way because you're in a kind of coliseum and you're kind of coming up here. So just bear that in mind. Walk it if you want, or just blast up it. Just see how the legs feel. And again, the red bag, all the info what you need to pack in there. So we've nailed the swim, we've nailed the bike, and now it's time to nail one of our best marathons ever. Oops. And by the way, if you're enjoying the video and find it useful, just hit that thumbs up button. Doesn't slow anything down, it costs you nothing, and it just helps me grow my channel. Thank you very much. Or gracias, as they say in Spain. This is the run course. It is a 4-loop course. There's, as you can see, there's lots of corners and out and backs. So it's not the fastest run course because you're slowing down and you're coming back on yourself, etc. But the course is absolutely unbelievably supported. So it's, as I said, you come out and it's this half of the course, it's kind of like very populous, as in like it's part of town, and it's deafening, especially when you come out. There's thousands of Spaniards giving it socks, and all your spectators and your family and your friends. Awesome moment. Feed off that energy. So what I would say to you as well, specifically for the run course, is know your pacing strategy, your fueling strategy, and your heat management strategy. It can get hot in Vitoria-Gasteiz on the run, and now when you're not on the bike and have that nice cooling air to keep it going, keeping your core temperature down is key. Whether or not you're using that with a cooling cap, or you're pouring water down your top, or you're making sure you have a certain amount of hydration in. Don't overdo it on the water because you can end up sloshing around and all the rest, washing out electrolytes. Try to think about other ways to keep yourself cool. Fueling, there are buckets of aid stations. There's one every kind of like 2.5 kilometers. And my advice to people who are doing races, I see people running out with gels in their hands. Said rubbish. Ironman. I have paid a fortune to Ironman. I am getting back my money's worth in this, and therefore I fill my boots at the aid stations. And I know the worst case scenario, I have to run 2.5 kilometers to the next one where I can get a gel, where I can get a banana, etc., or some salty foods, which they tend to have. So, excuse me. Make sure you use your aid stations, and that's a pro tip. Never miss an aid station. It's deafening on the course and feed off that energy. It's absolutely brilliant. In terms of if it's your first Ironman or even just when you're looking for a PB, here's my advice to all my guys I coach. Break it into 4 kind of chunks rather than, oh my God, I'm running a marathon, 42 kilometers. I've never run a marathon. That's okay. It doesn't have to be that way. Break it into 4 kilometer, you've got the loop system, so use that to your benefit. First 10K, hold back, ease into it, find your legs, make sure that you don't go off too hard and end up walking the entire last half of the marathon. That's not your strategy. If it almost should feel like, oh, I'm holding myself back, as I'm normally I'm running whatever 6-minute kilometers on my long runs. I'm running 6:30s here. That's fine. That means you're actually baking some time and energy for later on. Third and fourth loops, start dialing into your long run strategy or the kind of pace you're holding off the long bikes, and lock in. And feed off the energy, feed off the aid stations, and make sure you keep going. The 4th loop, and again, there's no other nice way of saying it, it sucks every single time. It just, and this is where you have to get tough mentally. I talk a little bit about mental strategies in one of the videos below. It's all about kind of visualizing the finish line. So it's about your mantras, how do you keep your head on that you'll kind of snap yourself back in focus. It's dedications, etc., stuff like that. But you are so close to the finish line. Keep going. You've got 15.5 hours to complete swim, the transition 1, bike, and transition 2, and your run. So bear that in mind and bear that in terms of your pricing strategy. Training tips for the run. I advise people to hit, and now again, this is different to the bike, and everyone makes up, should I run a full marathon in my Ironman training block? No, you should not. Why? Because it's the biggest risk of injury, and it takes so much recovery, probably anything from 7 to 10 days before you get your legs back. You lose too much time. If you hit 28 to 30, possibly 32 for stronger runners in one of your standalone run sessions, you will be golden. The other thing that you should do is lots of bricks at the week and midweek and at the weekend. In terms of distance, the midweek, I get my guys to run 1 to 2 to 3 kilometers off an hour bike, and that's all. Off the long bikes, even when they've done their peak bike, I won't get them to run much further than 5, 6, 7 kilometers, because you will remember you're baking in all the little training sessions as you go along, and you're trying to avoid injury, which is the biggest threat to an Ironman. Everything is all about being consistent and consistently building. So that's why do not overload the run. Do not think you have to do a marathon. Don't make that mistake. You will have a good run if you have hit 30K in your longest run, a standalone run, and you've run, say, 7K off a 160K bike. You will be golden. So again, nutrition, but you will need to practice on your long runs. But it's easier on this, guys, because you're just going to be milking those aid stations, as I said. Okay. And what's it all about? This is your finish line. As I said, some things to note. It's in a square and it is deafening. The noise is off the chart. It is brilliant. This is what you need to visualize, folks, when it's actually getting really tough on the run. It's also, there's kind of a cool part here. Some people don't like this, but I love it because you're running alongside it for each of your 4 loops. So people go, oh, I can see the finish line. Rubbish. What you are doing is you are getting all the energy from the cheer squad here. And that you get an absolute boost. Guaranteed, keep an eye on your watch and your pace, because you go past this and you go like, you start running 30 seconds per kilometer faster. While it's good, make sure it's part of your overall pace management strategy. It is a fabulous race. Okay, some other things to consider in your lead up to the race. That's course specific. Some other things you need to work out. Your race day nutrition, as I said, that the video is not in the comments below. Packing, how am I going to get my bike there, yada yada yada, etc. This is teamtruck.eu, our partners here. If you would like to sort of consider them, there's a link to what their website is, and they take the bike for you, and there's a discount code there below. But also, if you're bringing your own bike, there's something like Bike Box Allen is good, and all the packing list. Oh, so much to remember. Don't worry, you got you covered. Downloadable checklist in the video below. How to taper and without losing your mind. It's a scary time, as in all that training, and you start panicking that you're losing fitness. Spoiler alert, you're not. My video there covers that. And also, as I've mentioned, there's sort of last minute tips that you need to kind of make sure to nail your A race. Booking in a service for your bike, making sure you have your chargers, reading the race brief on top of this wonderfully informative video. And again, there's another video as well about the mental side of the game, which is going to be key if you're going to get all the way from that start line to the finish line. Race venue, key timetable. Now, bear in mind, I'm basing this off the last year's timetable, but they tend not to change it. Not broken, don't fix. But you're looking at registration will probably open on Thursday around 3 p.m. Make sure you check the actual new athlete guide, because that will 100% confirm that. There can and cannot be. Actually, I'm not sure whether or not the practice swim is organized by the guys. That's from another slide. Let me take that out. But there will be race briefings definitely on Saturday. Make sure you check the athlete guide for the exact time for your language. They do Spanish, English, German, etc. Bike and transition check-in. Again, that's a little bit more difficult with the split transition, but typically it's between 1 to 6 p.m. on the day before. And race morning transition will open around 6 p.m. again, 6 a.m. Make sure you check that out. I don't want people turning up in the afternoon expecting the race is over. And last year they started at 8:30. Should be something similar. Guys, this is you are set. You are all set. Make sure. I hope you have a great last few weeks training. I wish you all the best of luck in Spain. There's my info there. You want to ping me some questions. And again, polite ask. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. I just want to get as many people prepped and as ready to actually have a super race day in Spain. And check out my event channel for other course reviews. All the best.